Rated mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to the show. Welcome, guys. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of talking points here tonight. We're going to be talking about abortion rights back on the stage, so to speak. Here, we got to discuss this. I mean, we had it on the political stage, months and months ago. They got into it a little bit of last year. Hell, they even got to it, a little bit of, when Trump was in office. But, bringing at you guys episode 254, what the hell is going on now with this, this whole Supreme Court, leak? Were they supposed to leak it out? Did they do it on intention? I mean, what's going on? Jimmy the Rant, welcome back, buddy. What's your viewpoints on this, pal?
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me on as usual. Well, I don't know if there was if there's any intent behind releasing it. There's a draft that looks like they want to overturn Roe versus Wade. So, I mean, obviously we know what's been going on now is as soon as that came out, with everything going on in the news lately, with Elon buying Twitter and the left kind of melting down, this was another rallying cry for them to kind of come out of hiding and start to hit the streets again with protests. And you see a lot of Antifa activity. You see a lot of these, abortion rights protests going on. Cops getting attacked in LA. So if there was any malicious intent to kind of stir the pot, it's working. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Jimmy, you make a good point. Whatever's working, it's basically working on social media. The last 2, 3, almost 4 days now into this saga, and I'm going to call it a saga because it's blowing up all over social media. Facebook, a lot of content coming out of it, Instagram, even Twitter, right? The new Elon Musk Twitter, if you want to call it that. Is blowing up all over the place. All these protests going on and this and that. Is it going to stir, like you said, it's stirring up the pot? Is it going to stir up the pot for the Democratic Party, Jimmy?
I don't know if it's going to stir it up, but I really hope people are starting to wake up. And I think they are, because I think you could see that the woke cancel culture is now has turned on the people who benefited from it the most. And now their only deflection is, oh, I thought you're on the right, you're a libertarian on the right, or a Republican or a conservative. I thought you didn't like cancel culture. Well, nobody likes cancel culture in the way and manner in which the left has been using it, but now it's biting them in the ass, and it's biting a lot of companies in the ass. So this is just another ploy and tactic to, I mean, listen, I think the Supreme Court, their decision is that they want to overturn Roe versus Wade and make it and leave it up to the states to decide the legislation on it. And of course, the LGBTQ community has come out, and the fake feminist movement, the not true feminists that were once all about equal rights. You see them coming out of the woodwork because they know what's going to happen. They know that in red states, we all know what's going to happen. In red states, it'll be outlawed. In blue states, it'll be allowed. So they're really going to turn up the heat and try to and make and protest about it.
Sure. They're gonna, it's gonna create a big political shift, on the both parties there with the Democrats and the Republicans. Is it gonna, kind of play a big part during the midterms? Towards the end of the year, what do you think is going to happen, Jimmy, with this whole now be people calling it the new Democratic playbook? Right? Have you heard that yet?
In regards to what we're talking about with the abortion, right? I'm not a conservative, right? So I'm a Republican. I would fall in the category of being right wing, but I'm more of a constitutionalist. And I think when it comes to this, you have people that on the left or anyone who wants my body, my choice on the left is gonna push for the abortion because that's what they want. It's a lot of them. I mean, some people have some valid reasons as to why, and then most of them live in this fairy tale upside down world. And then conservatives, obviously, if you're a true conservative, I know a lot of people kind of think it's trendy to say they're conservative nowadays, but unless you're an actual true conservative, which a lot of it is, there's faith-based to it. So if you're not faith-based, you're not really conservative. But I could see why a true conservative would push from the Christian narrative on why you shouldn't have abortion. But, I don't know what the playbook is. It changes every day. Yeah. What I would say is kind of what we were talking about before we went live is me personally, I support Roe versus Wade. And it's an unpopular opinion with a lot of people, and I hope it doesn't fluster any of the patriots listening to this. But if you think about the people that abuse abortion and use it as contraceptive, do we really want those people reproducing? Do we really want them multiplying? I hate to say it in that manner, and there's nothing attached to that. It's not it's not gender, it's not color, it's not whatever. Yeah. It really, if you break it down and you take the individuals, white, black, Spanish, other, whatever, people that are all lumped in this country, the people that are really abusing it, do we really want them having families of 10 or 15 people when they just suck? They can't take care. They didn't want to take care of the kids from the first place. And having all these kids go through the system, because let's face it, they're not getting adopted. We see it all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that we have to say it like that, Jimmy. We hate to reproduce like the same. I'll say it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, folks. I really don't. I don't mean to laugh. But do we really want to pretty much reproduce or clone more idiocy in this society? I mean, right?
Hell no. I just listen, but I have a dark demeanor. I have definitely I like dark comedy, all that type of stuff, right? So I'm more prone to think of it, and I'm thinking of it in a realistic way.
Yeah, sure.
A way that rings true to me. And the way that it rings true to me is if those people are abusing it and using it as contraceptive, we know they don't give a shit as it is about using birth control, condoms, pulling out, fucking anal, not having sex at all. We know that those people are not engaging in that. They are getting pregnant, going to the abortion clinic, and then boom, it's routine as usual, going out again, sleeping around, getting pregnant. So I don't want those. It's natural selection. It's we don't want those people being unchecked. So I would say I don't agree with late term abortion. I don't agree with this wacky, crazy shit where they're talking about being able to abort a baby after they're born. Of course, I don't agree with that, guys. I mean, But
Yeah,
as
I don't
far
agree with it either. I mean, I don't, and I want to give a big shout out to Louis Escoqueza. I can't pronounce his last name, but he was just basically giving a big thumbs up there on our Facebook main page of the Patriot Angle podcast, which is basically being broadcasted live to that page. So thank you, Louis, for the big thumbs up. Shout out to you, buddy. Not sure exactly where you're tuning us in from, but thank you very much for your support, pal. It means a lot. I'm sure Jimmy can relate.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, bud. Appreciate you listening.
Exactly. But guys, today on the show, myself and Jimmy here on the show. I mean, Jimmy, you have to say, buddy, this is. It's a touching subject, but a very sensitive subject. I don't think, or let me rephrase that. I'm not sure why they want to bring this back in to a talking point, right? We've seen this last year. We've seen a little bit earlier this year. Like, what's going on? Like, why do they feel the need to bring up this again? Listen, folks, laws are laws, and they're put into place for a reason. Okay? Now, this time around, Jimmy, I feel it as, people are almost not fighting against this law, but kind of crying because, the law that most governors passed in their states, including the great state of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and even Kay Ivey in her state of Alabama, and others, just to name for an example, I think they're crying out because they understand that, hey, they lost and they won, right? I mean,
I think it's actually simpler than that. I think a lot of the people that are protesting at this point are not protesting in a way where protesting has become trendy. We all know what happens. What happens is the left latches onto something to protest about, and then they invite in those bad elements as Antifa and other organizations that are radicalized on the left, and then things get out of control. So it's never like an educated type of protest. And all right, if you want to argue it, sure. There's a lot of protests on the right where they got guys foaming out of the mouth going crazy. I get it. Usually the content grabbed is always going to be the wackiest people in the bunch, but a lot of these people that are out there crying, my body, my choice, they're the biggest fucking hypocrites, because they're also the same people that said, oh, your body, your choice doesn't apply for COVID-19 vaccination.
yeah.
So it's, I don't know what, I think it's like I said, it's trendy. It was something that all of a sudden they know what they're doing. Honestly, and maybe I retract what I said before. Maybe it was malicious that they released this draft, because knowing that the climate that we're in right now, what else would it cause? It's going to cause people to hit the streets again and start protesting about something that they believe in. And again, what you're going to have is you're going to have the LGBTQ community, of course, latching on to the feminist movement, because that's how they move, right? And I'm not talking about normal people in that category. I'm talking about the actual underground organization that runs that, just like the bad parts of BLM and bad parts of, well, all of Antifa, really. So they're gonna latch on to those movements, and they're gonna make it crazy. They're gonna get it out of control. And you had 2 officers attacked in LA trying to arrest somebody or detain them. They got scooters thrown at them and all types of shit like that. These people wearing all black, and they're out there ready to hurt you over it. So, these movements, like, these things are real touchy because of obviously what comes with whether you agree with it or not.
Sure. I mean, it's I don't know. I want to get into something kind of related to this, but there was a statement that our President of the United States just came out with, I think this was earlier today. Yeah, earlier today, that Biden now, Jimmy, is calling that the MAGA movement is the most extreme political group in U.S. history. Most extreme?
Yeah, it's well. Again, he's what's going to happen with Biden is he's going to say that only because Trump is his biggest hurdle in the election coming up if he decides to run.
Yeah.
That's going to be his biggest hurdle. I don't think Biden's going to last these 4 years. I think at some point he's going to be removed, and Kamala to take the presidency only because he's looking more unfit every day. They put him on camera.
Oh yeah, he's basically we say it constantly on this show, and other shows can relate. He's the puppet to the puppet masters. He's basically being kind of flung all around, right? You ever go to a puppet show when you were a little kid or something, or you see it on TV when the puppet's flying all around in the set? Yeah, that's Biden.
I wonder whose hands up his ass controlling him.
There's a lot of hands up his ass. I can tell you right now.
He's got a loose ass.
But we're talking about the abortion. I just wanted to throw that in there because Biden is he'll do anything in his power to try to set the narrative not only on social media but mainstream media. And now, did you see what's going on with this whole abortion agenda, Jimmy? The fake news, they're literally freaking out over this Roe versus Wade leak. Everybody, including CNN, even Fox, they're freaking out. They're all going like, "Oh, it's so terrible of what's going on,"
Well, I mean, that's their job. They're looking for ratings, and they know that that's what's gonna sell right now. So they're gonna blast that. And then, if you really think about it, I think what's going on is people are losing. I think before they were able to kind of push a narrative a lot longer, and they're realizing that people are losing interest. So they just keep coming out with more shit to hyper focus on. So, first it was COVID, then it was Russia invading Ukraine. Now that's kind of losing its movement, its traction. So now all of a sudden, bang, Roe versus Wade. Then after that, it'll be food shortages or whatever. So what they're doing is they're blasting the American people with so much content that it keeps you busy. Oh, and the Johnny Depp trial, right? They keep blasting you with it.
I see that. Weeks. You just mentioned the Johnny Depp story, right? I can't keep up with mainstream, Jimmy. It's either talk about abortion or talk about the Johnny Depp. I mean, they're flip flopping between Johnny Depp. Well, it's not COVID anymore. It hasn't been COVID now in almost a week and a half, 2 weeks. But
longer than that.
Johnny Depp, yeah, it's Johnny Depp, and then they flip flop back to abortion.
Well, it's designed to knock you off balance.
Yeah.
So every time you get engaged with something, the point is to disrupt you. It's kind of like they've done studies on people in the workplace. If you're at a workstation, and I'm not talking about anyone who works with their hands, but if you work in the corporate world and you're in the flow, answering emails, whatever you're doing, and somebody comes up to you to ask you a question, they've done studies where it is shown that it knocks you out of your routine for at least 20 minutes before you get back into it. So that's what's going on here with mainstream media, is that they're going to hit you with a story and drag it out to distract you from from other things that are out there, right? So every time something gets debunked, they move on to the next story. When they had the invasion of Ukraine, a lot of the bullshit that the media was putting out was being debunked, like Snake Island, the ghost of Kiev, and then they said, "Oh shit, go to Plan C now," and hit them with another news story. They're catching on. The internet is so fast now; it's catching up with all the bullshit, and people are like, "Wait a second," and they're like, "Oh, guess what? Guess what?" They're like, "Hold on one second." They're like, "Guess what? Johnny Depp's wife shits the bed." So then you're like, "Whoa, what the fuck just happened?" And all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, this is interesting. Let me watch this." And before they're done with that, it's another thing.
Well, speaking of bullshit, Jimmy, right? We're talking about the Roe versus Wade story, right? Now, if you go back, if we rewind, right? Let's rewind, folks, right? When we used to have actual VCRs, right? right? What the fuck is a VCR? It's an actual device where you put this like cassette in and you can actually, watch a motion picture. But I can't really explain it because most of our millennials today, Jimmy, they won't understand that. And we'll actually have to take a whole fucking podcast episode talking about VCRs. But let's go back in time. Let's put our cassette into the VCR and hit the rewind button and go back to 1981. Here's something that is complete bullshit on Biden. And what do I mean by this, right? In 1981, Joseph Biden, we'll use his full government name, right? Joseph Biden actually backed the whole agenda of what's going on right now with the abortion. Did anybody know that? I can tell you right now, Jimmy, there's probably a lot of people either tuning into the live episode right now or our audio podcast episodes later this evening when it gets launched onto the audio podcast platforms that will not know any of that.
Yeah, but Biden is a snake in the grass. He's always been. He's a career politician. They make their career off of selling the people out, no matter what political affiliation they are. I'm not surprised. I mean, in the 70s, he's shaking hands with, leaders of the Ku Klux Klan. And then all of a sudden now he's telling people, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. So, I mean, he's a flip-flopper, and most of those guys are, because they don't have a career. They made all their money off of sneaky under the table deals and selling out the American people. And I think that's what intrigued a lot of people with Trump. Was the same thing with Reagan. They were not career politicians. They made their fortune on previous endeavors and businesses, and they come in and they're like a wild a bull in a china shop, just kind of doing their own thing, and they're not playing by the rules of what the people in government consider being professional. I can't sit there and trust any kind of politician that tells you that there needs to be a certain level of decorum or a certain level of respect or way that you conduct yourself, and they're selling the people out that they're supposed to represent. So there's no way that I can respect any of them.
I can't respect them. Not only can I respect them, Jimmy, but I can't take them serious. We just talked about just shortly. We went back to 1981, right, folks, with actual Joe Biden supporting this, backing it, saying that, he backs it. But now he doesn't back it anymore. He's saying that, well, these women do have rights and everything else. Yes, don't get me wrong, folks. They do have a right. They do have a right. But here's my personal opinion on it, right? My own thesis, my own viewpoint, however you want to look at it, right? Here's my viewpoint, Jimmy. And you know what? I respect your viewpoint too. Maybe yours is different than mine. Hey, that's America. That's what makes us the greatest country on the face of the planet.
That's it.
But here is my viewpoint, and I'll be brief on this. Okay. If a woman decides to have an abortion, right? Her body by her choice, right? It's, that's her body, right? Okay. But here's the thing. Let's also look into other options, right? We just talked about this shortly before, in the green room, right? Right before we went on air, there's so many options out there. Have the woman put it up for adoption to a family that possibly cannot have a baby, right? Maybe the woman has complications in her body and she can't develop a baby in her womb. There's so many different types of complications a woman can have health-wise, right? On a health scale. Give it up that way, right? That child, Jimmy, how I see abortions right now, that child, that baby boy or that baby girl could be the next Albert Einstein that can literally cure cancer or come up with some type of wild invention in years to come,
No, I agree. I mean, listen, there's I think it's just the way that society keeps going. You could tell by the way people walk down the street. They have, there's kids with green hair and ripped clothes and all types of wacky piercings and shit like that. And I'm not from some super conservative family. I actually come from I grew up in a poor I grew up poor. I grew up in a predominantly mixed neighborhood. A lot of the people, a lot of my classmates were mostly Black and Spanish or Filipino. So I grew up a Democrat. I became a Republican after I seen how corrupt the organization was, and everybody has their hand out. But you could tell that me growing up, there was people that talked about safe sex, right? HIV and AIDS was a big deal. It was killing people. So safe sex was there was a lot of emphasis on that. Now, when in grammar school, I didn't get taught like condoms and none of that, but my family taught me about stuff like that. Or as I was growing up, they mentioned it. And then as I became a teenager, the emphasis was there. There was clinics there for people to go to, get condoms and talk about it. And I think people were just so much more conscientious of like, I don't want an STD or anything like that. Now it's like, it's all about having a good time. And
well, that's the same, you're talking about HIV and sex and everything, right? Wasn't that the pandemic in the 80s that Fauci tried to
absolutely. He sent people, those types of guys right there, they sent people to their deaths because they had research, they had the ability with data and, things like that go on.
Yeah. I mean, we had that on the show just, what was it, last week? Remember when, Sauce and myself and we were talking about that, where literally, Dr. Doom himself, Fauci, had so many people scared the way kind of people were during COVID. They were so scared that, they wouldn't even go into a bar or some type of an establishment close to that because they were fearing over, contracting some type of sexual transmitted disease. Right. I mean,
well, I just think that we're in an age of all this technology. We've become so distant and so disconnected from everything. So, like I said, the younger generation doesn't have any idea of kind of the consequences. Because when you're young, man, you're invincible. Everybody knows that.
Well, here's the thing, Jimmy. Here's the thing before, because I got to get into a break real quick in about another minute and a half. But here's the thing, right? You're talking about the young millennial, this new type of
younger than that, because I'm a millennial. Yeah. So younger, it's not a millennial.
Yeah, but you're talking about this new type of, not society, but this new type of a group of people, right? Youth. They don't know, Jimmy, because first of all, you and I were close in age, right? So we experienced everything from, the mid 80s through the 90s, right? We've seen the evolution of not only technology, but we've seen the evolution of an actual society, right? Of viewpoints on how people see things, right? We didn't live in this extra sensitive, over offended type of environment, right? So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, let's look at, for example, before I go into a break here, the 1800s, right? I'm working 16-hour days, right? The 1900s, I'm off to fight a war. The 2000s, I'm offended. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's just it's that expression, that timeless expression. Tough, hard men make easy times. Easy times make or easy times make easy men. Easy men make hard times. That perpetual cycle. So what our grandparents did, they were man. Like our grandfathers were manly men. Most of them, testosterone running its course. And now we have femboys and kids that are 12 that want to transition. So that goes to show you the climate of what's going on. Toxic masculinity. So if you're too much of a guy, that's toxic. Tone it down, bud. Don't be so.
Yeah, tone it down. I mean, I just, like, for example, folks here, just listening to the show, I just literally labeled almost 3 generations, the last 200, almost 300 years of different types of societies, different types of generations of people. Guys, we'll be right back after these words. I got to get a break in. The little red box here on the stream is kicking in. So we'll be right back after these words. You're not going to want to miss this, guys. I got a video here that's literally buzzing social media. I think Jimmy can relate. Be right back after these words, guys.
everybody, guys, pick up the book today. Can America Survive After Biden? Available on Amazon as well as Amazon Kindle, guys. If you have the unlimited plan, you get it for free. If not, guys, it is selling for $4.99. Let's save free speech in America. Let's join Elon Musk in providing that to other platforms. Let's kill this mass forever agenda by the corrupted politicians. Guys, this book has a lot of knowledge, and inside this book, you will learn stuff that mainstream will not tell you or does not want you to understand. Pick it up today, everywhere.
Senator, if this is overturned, how much is this going to hurt the minority community as well?
This is going to fall hardest on the most vulnerable women in our country.
I've never seen you so angry. You seem to be...
This is what the Republicans have been working towards.
You as a leader would stand for the dismemberment of minority communities, and those in the room is despicable and disgusting.
I'm telling you, Jimmy, it's all the Republicans' faults. Oh my God, cry me a river there, Pocahontas there, Elizabeth Warren, right? That claims to be a Native American when she's really not a Native American.
Yeah, I could tell. Well, she's 1/8. I don't even know what she is. 1/8 nothing, I guess.
It's all the Republicans' fault.
I thought of something funny. I see the commercial, right? So obviously, you have a book that's out for sale.
Yes, it's. I actually plugged in two ads here, which we made. The one part of the ad, which was going to be our featured ad on tonight's podcast, which is "Can America Survive After Biden?" That came out about a month and a half ago, and it is available on Amazon Kindle in its ebook format. But yes, that we do have a book that's out. You're right, Jimmy.
I did have a question though. So with the commercial though, there's no audio. Yours had audio, but the other one didn't. So how will the listeners know what they just listened to?
Well, here's the thing, right? I understand that some of the listeners, are not very much informed yet on our video podcasting, which tonight is audio, right? Obviously, you can hear our voices, right, folks, but you can't see our video. The reason for that is we are in a major overhaul here because we're building up the studio for the super launch on May 10th, which will feature that second commercial that we plugged in tonight's show, which is the book that Joseph Leonard came out with. Okay. The reason why he doesn't have audio is because that's just it's a teaser trailer to his book, Terror Strikes. So guys, if you're wondering why there wasn't audio, it was basically formatted for this show. So just wanted to basically brief in everybody. So if you're playing catch up saying, whoa, what the hell did I hear for almost a minute and 8 seconds. That was basically it, folks. It was a little teaser trailer to our good friend here on the show, Joseph M. Leonard, that has his book out, which is doing phenomenal. I told Terror Strikes coming to a city near you. Jimmy, they sold like fucking, God, almost like 10,000 copies already, I'm told.
That's incredible. I mean,
it is incredible. I mean, they're almost completely sold out on Amazon. There's only like 2 copies left. I've reached out to Joseph. I'm like, Joseph, buddy, you got 2 more copies left on Amazon. Are you going to call up, Amazon and tell them to give you another, 10, 20,000 copies of it? He's like, absolutely, brother.
Bezos is going to reach out to him directly. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure Bezos, however you want to say it, right? But what'd you think of Pocahontas there? Sorry, I'm changing the topic, though. But, what'd you think of Pocahontas, Senator Elizabeth Warren, literally enraged over this?
That they have to go out there and play their part. And just, like you said, they're puppets, muppets, whatever you want to call them. They're out there just acting like they're for the people. It was the same thing with Pelosi when she was telling you to sit in your house. Don't worry, don't come out. We're all in this together. Well, she lives on acres of property. Her fucking fridge was stacked with like hundreds of dollars worth of groceries, most expensive, specialized stuff. It's easy for them to come out and kind of showcase themselves and say this, but they say it's every side is going to blame each other. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, shame on them. Because look at those bailout packages that they were so behind, right? So they want you to believe that this issue is going to be much bigger. But if you think about it, they've been giving billions and billions of dollars away in foreign aid, and things have been getting tougher here. Yeah. So all that money is being misappropriated, being spent incorrectly. And unfortunately, the left has been behind supporting a lot of those crazy things that are built into those packages. So, the Republicans have been working on it. Well, there's most of the major areas, major cities are blue. What do they have to worry about? Most of those big areas that are Democrat will still be able to do abortion. The overturning of the ruling of Roe versus Wade, if it were to happen, which I don't know if it necessarily will, but it is that the states would be allowed to make decisions on it. So,
well, did you hear that? This is coming out of Newsmax. I just seen this just kind of briefly as we went into commercial queue here on the show, because I do keep up with politics very heavily, folks. I do. I try to give the most correct information on the show. And I know, folks, it's hard to give the correct information, whether on a podcast or a radio talk show, because we're so, I don't want to say maybe misinformed possibly from other networks, but, we're so, it's like a flip-flop scenario, Jimmy. But this just came out of Newsmax TV, right? That the possible leak that came out was most likely intentional.
Yeah, of course. It's to stir the pot. It's the perfect time for something like that to come out with the climate that we're in. So I'm not 100% surprised at anything like that.
Well, the reason why I'm using Newsmax is because they're the only network that actually commented on that. CNN, if you go on CNN, folks, right? You go on NBC, you go on MSNBC, all these other networks, they're almost like in a domino effect where they're literally commenting the same thing. It's a different anchor. It's a different person on that network, but they're almost in a domino effect, Jimmy, where they're basically saying the same thing.
Well, they're all owned by the same corporation.
Right. They're all owned. What's that?
You ever see that clip that says this is what programming looks like? And it starts off with one screen of a news anchor saying something, and then it just starts to multiply across a bunch of different screens of like other different broadcasts of them saying the same exact thing on the same exact subject. So I mean, that's what propaganda, that's what control looks like.
Yeah, they're all own. It's basically, I think it's like owned by like a network. Believe it or not, quote me. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's through like a Comcast network or something like that, where they actually own that the same company.
I believe Viacom.
Viacom, yeah, it's similar to that because like if you ever go, you drive down the road and you see those billboards all over the place, and if you actually look on the very bottom of that billboard, it'll actually say, like similar to that, like a Viacom company or a Comcast network. They own all those billboards, so they have control over it. And like we're talking right now, they have control over what is said on those networks.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. National Amusements has 80% voting majority and also owns the major company Viacom, the company behind Paramount Pictures, Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, BET, CMT, and VH1, and a lot of different news outlets. So, and then actually Disney. Surprising enough.
Disney?
So we know what's going to happen. We know who they sympathize with.
Yeah. We had a whole episode on Disney, didn't we? Like with the whole. I
bet you Disney stands behind abortion 100%.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to be coming out with some kind of fucking campaign push or something, a poster hanging up somewhere in Disney World there in Orlando.
They'll do have an abortion and you get a free trip to Disney.
Yeah, they'll probably do some type of vacation package or something, where if you stay at one of our luxurious resorts, they're don't worry, folks, you don't have to worry about the condom on the bed, right? I mean,
No, they'll like I said, you get a voucher for every abortion. So kudos.
Yeah.
Again, that's all that's alleged. That's satire right there, folks. Okay. We're not saying that that's what they're actually doing.
Well, folks, there is a good overhaul on this, right? A poll coming out of Breitbart.com, which I love. A new poll saying that likely voters support overturning Roe versus Wade.
I think they're just getting worried that, I think the GOP has had to eat shit for the past couple of years while cities were being burned down and all types of things, and every single Republican being on the chopping block for, January 6th. Yeah. So I think that they're going to try to stack the House as much as they can. And the left does not like that. It's the same thing that happened with the libs of TikTok that got sent to the shadow world.
Speaking of TikTok, did you see, right? And I have to say this crazy woman that's on TikTok, right? She is like literally the new head of this ridiculous, what is it? A fucking department, Jimmy, of the Ministry of Truth or something?
Well, I forget what they're calling it, but Ministry of Truth was from 1984. So
yeah, but that's how they're presenting it as, though.
Of course. Well, I mean, if you notice, we're in that like gray area that everyone talks about, or a lot of people speculated we would be at, where the government would end up becoming the state. There's a great, I always mention it, there's a great Twilight Zone episode called The Obsolete Man. That if anyone has ever watched that, it's in black and white, but Twilight Zone's awesome. I would watch that episode, and it goes, and it shows how in control the state is. The state is your religion. The state is your ideology. And that's kind of where we're marching down. They want to remove religion from everything.
Yeah.
Right. So that there is nothing standing in their way, and it's only the state. And then the state also wants you to be dependent on them. So they'll give you welfare. They'll give you free abortions. They'll give you all of those types of things as long as you pledge your allegiance to the state. And that's kind of where we're marching down to. And that's why they're talking about the ministry of truth, because the main protagonist's job in that story was he had to revise history depending on what the state wanted him to write in there.
Yeah, and you know what, folks, this all goes back. We're talking about abortion, we're talking about fact checking, ministry of truth, all this shit. Jimmy, this all goes back to the 70s, right? Especially with this abortion shit, right? Back in 1973, right? Likely, right? And this is coming from a statement from 1973, and I'll read it here on the show, right? Likely, voters were also asked if they agreed with the statement in 1973. And they're saying they're asking them the same thing. Fast forward, 50 some odd years later, right? Just about 50 some odd years later. Math is off by maybe 4 or 5 years, but you get the point, right, folks? 50 something years later, they're asked the same thing, that this new, or it's not really a new, but the Roe versus Wade, goes back to 1973, Jimmy. They're trying to ask the Supreme Court to overturn the 1973 decision that was legalized abortion in the United States. That's what went down in 1973, Jimmy.
No, yeah. Well, I'm familiar with the with the Supreme Court's ruling on the matter.
Oh, I know you're familiar. I'm familiar, Jimmy. But sometimes, there's people that they're not familiar. Okay, and when you don't have people that are very well informed about this or don't know exactly what went down in the original format of this decision, right? It dates back to the 70s, the early 70s, folks. When you don't have people that don't really know what went down, they don't know their homework, so to speak, on this subject, you have a lot of misinformed people. We're seeing protests all over the country right now with this abortion rights movement, right? These people, Jimmy, they're protesting for something that they don't really know exactly what the hell they're protesting about. And we see this all over with different types of protests.
Yeah. Well, the only other reason that I could think that they would want to overturn it is the fact that, the ruling came that the Constitution would protect a pregnant woman's right to abort. And we've seen over the past, 10 to 15 years that they have been slowly tearing apart the Constitution and kind of trying to rewrite exactly what this country is. Because in order for it to be what maybe there's a group of people out there envision, they would have to get rid of what America is, what America stands for, and the sovereignty of it, in order to bring in a new world order, a new agenda. They'd have to break down what's here first, because we're one of the last countries of the free world that really embraces the freedoms that we have here. And
you make up a good point. I don't mean to cut in, but you make a good point, Jimmy. Just recently, the My Pillow guy, right? Mike Lindell, right?
Lindell.
More as a what's that?
I said Lindell.
Yeah, acted more as a freaking a possible political candidate nowadays. If you folks have been recognizing the actual movement of where he's going right now, especially you see him a lot at the Trump rallies, right? The last several months now, Trump rallies all over, right? The Save America Trump rallies, getting into that content or that contrast of what you just said, Jimmy. Like he mentioned this, and I'll quote him on this. He makes a valuable point with China now, right? Let's focus on China, right? What does China have to do with any of this? I'll explain, and I'll get into what Mike Lindell means by this in his his comment, his quote, what he'd said on. He says this all over in the rallies, saying with China becoming a superpower and rising at very extreme levels, if we do not pay attention to our own problems here and also pay attention to the superpowers overseas and everything going back and forth with inflation to rise in prices to this and that, we are going to lose not only our country, but we are going to destroy it ourselves. Let's stop saying it's all China's fault, it's all Russia's fault, but in reality, it's our fault, Jimmy, because we're the ones doing it, not other countries, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, the 20-year occupation of Afghanistan and in the Middle East didn't help. We've been spending a lot of money, on the military-industrial complex and sending money overseas to fight that occupation. And in the last 20 years, China has been buying up assets with their money. So we're starting to see exactly why China has become the powerhouse of the world. And they have a lot of their own issues there too. They obviously, everything is extremely censored and state run. So they're not going to be able to, they're not showing it as much, but can we really be a country that succeeds when we're at war with each other all the time? It's never going to happen. All we do is fight amongst each other. And that's the unfortunate part. There's a lot of people here that have positions of influence that keep us at each other's throats.
Yeah, you make a good point, Jimmy. Not only are we the most powerful, powerful country on the face of the planet, but we're also the most violent country in the world, because you make a point where we're constantly fighting, we're constantly bicker-backering, this and that. It's mainly, if it's not politics, Jimmy, it's personal matters, it's personal viewpoints. It's like, oh, you don't support Black Lives Matter, you're a white supremacist. Oh, you don't support abortion rights, oh, you're a martyr, or this and that, and you're a male chauvinist, and this and that. I mean, Jimmy, it's gone on way too long.
I wouldn't say we're the most violent. I would just say that we spend a lot of our energy instead of building. But that goes back to the indoctrination of the kids for the last 30, 40 years in public schools. Unfortunately, the left has done their duty at really crippling the younger generation. The younger generation, younger than us, being probably the worst, and I'm sure there's more to come, to the point where we don't even want to nurture our intelligent people here in the country. We want to take away gifted and talented classes. We want to dumb down everything so that people don't get offended. So there's no way that we're destined to stay on top with that kind of mindset or that kind of indoctrination. So, I really hate to say it, but I don't know where we're at on the scale, but we may be on the decline here. This is kind of like Roman times before the Roman Empire collapsed. Most of our issues is about sexualization, sexual identity.
And Jimmy, you touch on that subject a lot here on the show, with the Roman Empire and this and that, and you make up really, really good, valuable viewpoints on this show. And, I applaud you for that, because, that is a great example. Let's look at other past civilizations, other types of societies that had a lot of similarities to our own conflicts that we have here in America, right? No empire, right? No type of culture, whether it's past or now present, can survive. There will be a demise sooner or later, Jimmy, with all of this. There will be the collapse, the ultimate collapse, because no empire can survive its own conflicts.
No, absolutely.
Look at your history books, the Roman Empire, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient, the Mayans, right? All these different past civilizations before our time, right? Before modern technology, before all of that, right? There was so much similarities. No one can survive it. It's impossible. But you make up a good point here, Jimmy. We're talking about indoctrination, right? Did you see, and I know you don't see it, and you're probably going to be like, Mike, why the hell are you showing this? I hate that fucking show. But now I have to, because I have to show.
Let me guess, The View?
You're damn right. I have to, Jimmy, I have to. You know why I have to? Because I have to show the viewers here the actual delusion and actual, like, these people are fucking pathetic, Jimmy. They're pathetic. Joy Behar, just earlier today on The View, the fucking nutjob old hags of The View. They're not all old. There's some young ones. You got Sunny. She's kind of young, right? Middle-aged woman. But Behar floats now, is saying that sex strikes over Roe is a war on women, gays, and people of color. This is what she's saying. I mean, you got to check this video out here. We're going to plug it in here of Joy Behar, right? Do we have it? Okay, we do have it. Okay. Yeah, Joy Behar. Check this out.
I was talking yesterday about how this is a slippery slope, that these people, if they're in charge with the presidency, and the Senate, and the House, it's going to be a disaster. Yeah. And then I came upon this Republican Senator, Mike Braun from Indiana, who said that he'd be open to overturning Loving versus Virginia, which legalized interracial marriages in 1967. Okay. And then when he was at a press conference, he said he would be okay with the Supreme Court having the issue of interracial marriages to the states, leaving it to the states. Right. So don't think this is just a war on women. It could be a war on people of color. Yeah. And gay people. And also, he said, he backtracked that. He said he misunderstood the question, but he had agreed with his own statement 10 times, or so before. Yeah. So,
all right, shut the garbage off. It's garbage, Jimmy. It is. I'm sorry I'm plugging it in the show, but, this is exactly what people need to see, okay? They need to understand that the garbage that The View constantly puts on their show, like, oh, it's a war on gays and people of color. Like, oh my God, right? I mean, come on.
You can't take these people seriously, and here's the reason why. That the shit that they've been given is scripted to them, where they're saying that, oh, if this gets overturned, everybody's screwed. The gay community, the minorities. Well, here's the thing. Those are the same people, like I go back to, that rally behind forced vaccination of something that the science doesn't match up. So those are the same people that stood behind and said, if you don't get vaccinated, and the government's gonna use this administration, used its influence on companies. People are still being discriminated. They can't get jobs if they're not vaccinated. They have to get fucking tested once a week. They were okay with you losing your job if you didn't get 4 times vaccinated with some shit, all right, from a flu that wasn't even killing people. The numbers were skewed, okay, and people that had complications had comorbidities. They were very old. Those are the same people that are saying, well, we got to worry about, this is going to happen if this doesn't happen. Are you fucking serious? That always gets me fired up. So you have a problem with your neighbor who's not vaccinated, okay, with the COVID-19 vaccination, even though you're vaccinated, which is supposed to kind of help you out in that event, right? So you can't stand the guy next to you, but you're like, kill the babies. You know what I mean? Abort away. No problem. And if we don't get to kill the babies, then people of color and people that are gay are not going to be protected because they're going to overturn things on that too. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening at all, because I'll tell you this much.
Yeah.
Even though I have certain beliefs and stuff, I will go out and defend it. I don't want I'll go out and defend any American, whatever color they are. I don't want to say people of color. I don't like that expression. But any American, any color.
But listen, Jimmy,
I'll go out and defend anyone who has a certain sexual preference, even if the government said we don't protect you anymore. If I seen somebody getting harassed for being gay, I will be right there, to help that person out, even if I don't agree with certain things. Because I'm not.
But see, Jimmy, she says this on the show, right? She uses that term, people of color, right? But in all reality, there is a woman of color, Whoopi, less than 4 or 5 feet from her at the studio table there, right on the show. The people of color, right? And then she goes into saying this more. This woman, you want to talk about racism? I mean, that's a racism mark, right? People of color. Why don't you just why does it have to be people of color? Why can't you just say, the person's name or, who they represent, right? I mean, that's a racist term. You can't, people of color, right? I mean, everybody has a different color. I understand you're black, you're brown, you're white, you're yellow, you could be off beige color or something. But then she continues to say, another point I want to make, because I want to say this, women in the world have conducted sex strikes in history. In 2003, a sex strike helped to end Libya's brutal civil war. The women who started it was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. In Kenya, they forced a sex ban until fighting ceased. In 1 week, there was a stable government. We have more power than we think we may have, or some of it could be the right in the bedroom. Just saying. This is her remarks.
Yeah, now they're telling women don't have sex with anyone. So
you're
gonna have these crazy ideas spew out of those. I mean, that's that. You have to remember the audience that they are trying to capture. I mean, I don't watch The View. I would never watch The View in the first place, but I'm at work, so you can only imagine that those TV shows that come on during the day, who are they really trying to capture? They're not trying to capture most of the people that are on the right. Not most, but a chunk of people that are at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going for these people that are sitting on their fucking ass, or elderly, or retired, or fucking unemployed, intentionally unemployed.
They're going after the weak-minded people, that really don't have a backbone, and everything else. I mean, even their fucking co-host Sonny Hostin said a sex strike that could be quite effective, right? A sex strike. Oh, we're gonna go back to Jimmy, this has all been done and said before. We're going to go back to the 1980s with fucking Dr. Doom Fauci that literally had a sex strike because he was creating fear-mongering on the HIV and AIDS epidemic in the 80s. Are we going to go back to that scenario? I mean, come on.
I mean, listen, this is
hold on, let me stop you there.
Yeah.
I warned you folks that this was going to be a heated topic. It is very heated. It's very much on my heart here. And I listen here. Okay. I'm not against women that, feel they should have an abortion, but do it in a respected manner. Right. Plain and simple.
I'm in support of it. I'm in support of Roe versus Wade, and I don't mind if they keep it there. And I'm not an ultra conservative, and I don't, I do believe in women having choices under certain circumstances where I don't believe in late term abortion. And I don't believe in killing babies when they're born, because that's murder. That's not abortion. That's murder.
It's premeditated murder in my eyes. And that's what I think.
But at the same time, I really don't want these people procreating that are using abortion as contraceptive anyway. It's going to be something that I wonder where it's going to go. I want to see how far it gets. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it was really just to stir the pot and get shit to get heated again. And
it's
really
another viewpoint on social media and the mainstream. They need more viewpoints. It's always going to be like that.
Well, I think a lot of the groups have kind of been not as active, right? A lot of groups haven't been as active, and now once the protesting starts, it activates a lot of those groups that go out and cause a lot of problems. So
yeah, I hear you.
And then once the problems are caused, then they have another thing to kind of cry about and rally behind. But a lot of this.
Well, here's your here. I want to get your comment on this as we close the show here soon. The president just basically had his whole normal little press conference there in the part of the White House in the press room, right? And this is basically what he said, right? This is about a lot more than abortion, Biden had said. The president even warned that Republicans might pass a law preventing LGBTQ, or what I like to call it, and Sauce, if he was on the show, he'd probably laugh on this, the alphabet people, right? From attending public school with other children. Let me tell you about this ultra MAGA agenda. It's extreme, Biden said. He also suggested, Jimmy, that the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade could mean that the government could regulate couples from using birth control.
Listen, I'm telling you, this shit is all set up because the fucking.
You think it's set up?
Absolutely. The Supreme Court keeps shooting down 2A items that are brought before them, anything related to guns. But now all of a sudden they're going to overturn, especially like I said, in this climate, they're going to overturn the ruling on whether the Supreme Court will uphold women's rights to abortions. It's all fucking rigged. It's part of the game because you could tell, you could just look at the things when they brought 2A items up to Supreme Court, they keep knocking it back down and saying, well, it goes to your state level. We don't want to get involved in it, right? But yet you want to get involved in everything else. So that's just. Listen, the midterms are coming up. There's certain elections coming up, and now the focus is they have to demonize the right, demonize the GOP, and
well, Jimmy, you might like this because we actually, as we're doing the live stream here, Eric here in the studio, which I'll bring him in the studio. I've been told by you many times, Jimmy, we got to bring Eric in, and Eric does agree. He's gonna actually show his face, believe it or not, on May 10th. He's going to be part of the show, which we applaud.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much, Eric. I know you're on the other side of the room, buddy. Thank you. We got to applaud you. A much appreciation, right? But you're going to like this here. A viewer basically on the viewing the show here and then also on our blog here on the website agrees with you, Jimmy. And I'll quote, this is Michaela coming out of Paterson, New Jersey. Not too far from you, actually, believe it or not.
Okay, Paterson.
So Michaela out of Paterson, New Jersey saying that, I couldn't agree more with Jimmy. Making good, valuable points, right? Could it be set up? I could see it maybe being set up. Like you say, Michael, just briefly here on the show, they need more viewpoints. They need more talking points. And I think that that this abortion stuff should be let up to the state's decisions of governors on what they should think that should be, responsible in their own ways. And you know what? She goes into more of it, but left a really, really lengthy comment, which I won't go into. I'm just kind of reading the actual kind of like standout of the whole comment there. But, Michaela of Paterson, New Jersey, first and foremost, thank you for viewing us and thank you for commenting on that on the blog. So we show much appreciation. Thank you, Michaela.
Yeah, shout outs to Michaela for listening. And
Patterson. And you know what? That's very, very rare. You have sounds like she's a conservative woman there up in
Patterson. That's crazy. That's mind blowing.
It's very fucking rare that even Patterson, New Jersey. I mean, I grew up in Monmouth County, folks. Monmouth County, New Jersey, a town. Probably everybody's well known of, Middletown, New Jersey, right down the fucking shore. Patterson, liberal as hell.
It's a rough place. That's a rough place to live. And I'll be honest, if you're constitutionalist, a libertarian on the right, a conservative Republican living in Patterson, that's got to be difficult because that place. I'm in Patterson frequently because we got properties up there that I manage, but man, it is fucking destitute up there. There's dope heads nodding out everywhere.
I bet you're probably trying to look to make sure you don't step on an insulin needle, huh?
No, I mean, you laugh about it, but I'm going to be honest with you. I absolutely look for that. I mean, you see, the other day I was in Elizabeth and I seen a fucking vial of blood that you would see in a medical thing hanging out on the ground next to a Dunkin' Donuts. The heroin pandemic that's a true pandemic, is crazy, especially here in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah. You speak about, drug pandemics, epidemics, however you want to say it, right? I mean, you look at the opioid crisis, literally back on the map, so to speak, of social media, mainstream media. The opioid crisis, Jimmy, on the rise. But here, guys, I'm going to close it out here in about another couple minutes. I wanted to plug this in. I wanted to plug it in actually right before we hit the hour mark here on the show of, back to this abortion shit. And I'll get Jimmy's comments here. Just it's a lengthy video, but I'm only going to plug in probably the first minute and a half. And then I'll get Jimmy's viewpoint because, I mean, this is the type of crap that we're facing now. We have to listen to this garbage hopefully for another week before they come up with some other fucking agenda. Check this out, guys.
Today, we'll provide protections for unborn children.
We've never been closer to losing a fundamental constitutional right.
In early May, a draft of the Supreme Court opinion on the future of abortion rights was obtained by Politico, indicating that Roe v. Wade is likely to be overturned by the court. However, court opinions are fluid. The official decision will come down this summer, when the court rules on a Mississippi law that bans abortions at 15 weeks. It's a case that forces the court to reevaluate if abortion should be federally protected or if states have the right to limit abortion.
The Mississippi law has challenged the fundamental tenets of Roe v. Wade and even Planned Parenthood v. Casey.
Every indication is telling us that the Supreme Court is going to hand down a decision that may completely overturn abortion rights.
If the court upholds Mississippi's law, that opens the door for dozens of states to follow suit in restricting abortion access. Many already have. Soon, accessing safe reproductive care in the United States could become very complicated for at least 36 million women.
And then the question is, how far is it going to go in changing constitutional law to make that happen?
So how could this decision ripple out and be felt across the country? And what
political will that is inconsistent with the public's will?
Obviously, there will be some serious opposition to the decision if it overturns Roe and Casey, but there would also likely be very serious opposition from a different segment of the country if it did otherwise, because
Right, I wanted to plug in more, guys. What we'll try to do is we'll put that in the actual show notes, guys, on our audio podcast that gets launched usually after our live feeds here on YouTube and as well as our Facebook and our Facebook group page, the Patriots States of America. I had to say that correctly because we actually just renamed the group page. So yeah, guys, like I said, Eric, put that in the show notes for guys if we could do that. It's a really, really interesting video. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. But guys, we're going to close this up in about 2 minutes here. Jimmy, what's your thoughts on that, pal? 2 minutes. We got about 2 minutes here left on the show.
Well, I think there's going to be fighting no matter what you do because there's no middle ground anymore. And that's the very unfortunate part that we can't come to the table and talk about it. So there's, large groups of polarized, the groups have been polarized on each side. So there's a lot of, there's no more like we're going to protest. Now it's become we're going to protest and it's going to get out of control right away, or we're going to take this kind of route. So again, these people are worried about Roe versus Wade, but at the same time, and their argument is, well, we have to worry about, this opens the door for other types of legislation being passed that we don't like. But again, anything two-way that goes up to Supreme Court always gets knocked down. The motion filed for the Supreme Court when it came to COVID-19 discrimination got shot down. So it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Before we close it out, Jimmy, how's the podcast going? I wanted to ask that. I know you're starting up or relaunching your product, your brand there, buddy. Where are you at with that, man?
I probably got I don't know. It's been real busy, and I focus a lot of my time on making sure that I'm on your show on Tuesdays.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. Thank you for the commitment.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It means a lot here, not only to myself, but to Eric and even Alicia. She does a lot of my my editing. In her personal home. And it means a lot. It definitely means a lot. We're definitely we're waiting. Sometimes impatiently for even your brand to come out, because eventually I'd love to be a part of your show, come on as a guest or whatever. And I'm really looking forward, Jimmy, to seeing you launch, man, because what you talk about, not only on this show, it deserves a platform. It deserves a base. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that I'm probably 8 weeks out. I wanted it to be a little sooner, but
all right, 8 weeks. So you about another month then, you're saying, huh?
Yeah, I want to make sure that I really have the time to put in at least one show a week starting off, and then pick it back up, kind of get to where I need to get to. So
yeah.
That's what I see. I see it being like an 8 week out, and then we'll go from there. Similar platform. And I got to catch up to you, man.
Got to catch up to me. What do you mean by that?
Followers, episodes.
Well, let me tell you something here, Jimmy. It takes time, pal. You definitely got to develop the brand. You got to develop your content. You got to develop where you want to be. Obviously, we broadcast, through a network on our Audible. Or excuse me, I got to stop saying Audible. We are on Audible, but audio, there you go. Our audio that we broadcast through StreamYard here, and then also Anchor, right? You have to develop that on Anchor. And I say to people, Anchor is so amazing, right? Because it is literally like a foothill and a marking to basically have it launched onto several other platforms. You start off with Spotify and you build up your character, man. You build it up, you let it, fluctuate. And eventually you get to big platforms such as, Apple and Amazon Music and eventually Audible. And then you're all over the place. So it takes time, man,
Oh yeah. Time, dedication, and putting your blood, sweat, and tears in it. So I
tell you what, before we close it out, Jimmy, how about we do this, right? I give you my promise. When you're ready to launch your podcast show, right, whether it is just an exclusive YouTube show, or you actually do the YouTube plus the audio, or you do it all, right? You go for the whole 10 yards, as John Madden would say back in the 80s and 90s, right? You go through it all, right? When you're ready to launch your product, your brand, your podcast show, you give me a heads up, and I will plug you in as much as possible on this show, and we're going to get your name out there, pal.
I appreciate it, brother. I'll hold you to it.
You don't have to hold me to it, because it's a promise. I made this on. You hear this, folks? Today is May 4th, 2022. Jimmy the Rant here has less than 8 weeks, so a little shy of 2 months to get his show out, right? He's given an estimate of when his show is going to come out. Have you thought of a name yet, or no?
Well, I've had the name of the past episodes I was doing in 2019, so it'd be The Decline of Reason.
All right, The Decline of Reason, folks. You heard it on today's show, May 4th, 2022. Hopefully in the next 2 months, The Decline of Reason will be a show of reason, because it's going to be coming into existence. So look out for that show. I'm sure it's going to be launched onto Spotify first, and then it's going to go in its right, appropriate direction. So, Jimmy, like I said, 2 months, man, you let me know, and we're going to plug it. So
Absolutely.
And Jimmy, like always, man, thank you. You're a friend of the show. You're my good friend here. I thank you for, giving your time, your energy, because I know it takes energy talking like this, almost going into an hour and a half. So.
I love it. And like anyone that's out there, if you don't listen to the show, go back, listen to some of the old episodes, get caught up, and, stay tuned. There's a lot of good stuff, coming.
Yeah, like I say, guys, you got to listen to the pilot episode, the very first episode of this, when we were actually not the Patriot Angle podcast. We were actually called another show. It was the Kitchen Angle podcast. The reason for that, guys, is I was just getting into podcasting for the first fucking time in my life, and I was doing it from my laptop on my kitchen island, table in the kitchen. So that's hence name the Kitchen Angle podcast. You got to listen to the first pilot episode. You're going to laugh your ass off because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I mean, it was like, I was doing a lot of like, what the fuck do I do now? It's so many glitches, I tell you. But Jimmy, thanks a lot, pal. Thank you very much.
Patriot Unfiltered. You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle Podcast, an unfiltered Patriot Productions. Please follow us on Facebook at the Patriot Angle Podcast and Instagram at Patriot_Angle_unfiltered. Also, you can hear every episode on Amazon Music, Audible, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcast. You can also check out our website, PatriotAnglePodcast.com, and also our unfiltered merchandise, PatriotUnfiltered.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.